Welcome back, everybody, to the Gutterwise Marketing Podcast. Super excited. Today, we have a really special guest, Chester Aho from Aho Seamless themselves, the face behind the business, and really excited to have him on here today because Chester's been able to do some great things with Aho Seamless, grow the business to almost $3 million per year, and really has done some really good things through the company culture and through their online marketing. So I'm super excited to jump in to today's episode. Chester, how you doing?
Good. How are you today?
I'm doing pretty awesome. I'm doing pretty awesome. Weather's cooling down a little bit here in Colorado, so it's I'm not having to cycle through the same like 8 t-shirts anymore. Now I can start putting the sweaters on and all that. It's kind of nice.
Yeah, same here. It's cooling down. Leaves are starting to turn, so
I know, right? Fall's my favorite season. I'm so excited. Perfect. Well, we
busy
can
season.
dive straight in. Tell me, how did you get started in the trades? What was kind of the thing that got you put into the trades?
Well, I grew up on a dairy farm, and when I was graduating, my brother had at the time was going to be moving up to Michigan, and he was running a gutter business. So I graduated high school, and that was my time to get off the farm. And I was looking for something to do, and he asked me to run his gutter business for him. So I did that. It was kind of a weekend thing, and I worked for a different brother doing post frame construction. So that's kind of what got me into it was my brothers were doing it before me.
Nice. And what age was that at? Were you like teenager at that point?
I was 18. Yep.
Nice, man. Nice, nice. So let's dive into the first couple of years of Aho Seamless. When you first jumped in there, what were you guys kind of doing at that point? What did the business look like at that point when you jumped in?
Well, it was just me. So he trained me in for a week and then I found help on jobs that were longer than I could handle. This was back in Minnesota. I grew up in Minnesota on the farm. That's where he started. And then I eventually moved out to New Hampshire. So the first couple of years it was only a weekend gig. I did Fridays and Saturdays. I would work during the week doing construction, and then I'd go Friday and Saturday. I'd do estimates and installs. So
Nice, man. Nice. Really maximizing that time. So what
yep.
did you do to kind of get jump started in Aho then? Were you guys, how are you guys getting customers coming in? What did getting help look like? What was that first little brief period of time like for you guys?
So the first few years, this was back in 2010. So I didn't really have growth in mind. I wasn't thinking big at that point. I wasn't really trying to hire. I was advertising in newspapers, and that was really about it. Newspapers and word of mouth were my jobs, and that kept me busy.
Nice, nice. And did what just like local newspapers, just putting,
Yeah,
little
local.
classified ads in there, stuff like that?
Yep, just little paragraph type ads, classified ads. I don't even remember what they were called, but back then I knew that well.
Yeah, yeah. That's awesome, man. What were the kind of jobs looking like? I mean, I've only been in the gutter space over the past, 5 or so years. So, I mean, back then, what were the jobs looking like? Were you getting a lot of, was guards really a big thing back then yet? Or were you guys
For
mostly
me,
just doing installs, repairs, that type of thing?
yeah, for me it was mainly gutter. I wasn't pushing guards at that time. Again, I was 18 and still learning, so I didn't have any business sense at that point.
Yeah, for sure. For sure. Just throwing a gutter and collecting
Yep,
cash.
happy to have that extra money on the
Yeah,
weekend.
for sure. For sure. So, what were some of your biggest challenges when you were starting then? I mean, obviously, like you said, it was just kind of like a weekend thing and you're just kind of slinging gutter at that point. So, I mean, what was kind of the biggest struggle right there? I mean, yeah, I know you said it was just for a little bit of extra cash, but what was kind of the mindset of the business at that point?
It was exactly that. It was a weekend thing in the beginning. Um, and my struggle was knowledge. I didn't have a lot of knowledge about gutter. And at that time, even YouTube wasn't very big, so
Mm.
I didn't have that access like there is now. And even the first few years there was YouTube, I wasn't really finding anything about gutters on there. So
Gotcha.
it was
Gotcha.
a lack of knowledge was my struggle.
Gotcha. I mean, obviously you know, it's not just a weekend thing anymore. You guys are pulling in a huge amount of revenue and you know, this is your company now. So where was that switch at? Where did that, what was that? Tell me that story of how it went from just being a weekend thing to, all right, I'm kicking it into high gear now.
So yeah, that was, I'd say 2014, roughly 2015, somewhere in there. I was married by that point and out doing estimates. I was tired of dealing with all the small business struggles, not knowing if your help's going to show up the next day, uh, burnt out, working long hours. And so as I was growing, I had a crew or two and I was doing the estimates, managing the crews. I was listening to podcasts. And a big podcast that I listened to was Tommy Mello. And then also Mike Andes was a really good one that I liked. So I basically sucked in a lot of knowledge. I had a lot of FTI. I didn't implement anything for many years. So I started to scale a lot more in 2018 to 2019. And then I hit COVID 2020, and that really was steroids for the business. So
When you say steroids for the business, dive into that a little bit more. What do you mean by that?
well, with COVID, there was a lot of government money coming out. So it was easy to get work. It was easy to bid a job and get it, and work just stacked up. So it was easy. The struggle we have with marketing now is much different
Gotcha. Gotcha.
than what it was during that time. So
Yeah. And take me back to that time when you were first starting to scale, maybe that 2014 area. What was the first couple of things that you knew you had to get done? I mean, you're sucking in all this knowledge. What was the first couple of things where you're like, yep, I got to get these things nailed down before I can start to grow?
well, like I said, 2014, I think 2016 was kind of just sucking in knowledge but not implementing. And then 2016, in that time frame, I started realizing that I needed to get past one or two employees.
Hmm.
So I wasn't dependent on one or two guys showing up every day. I needed somebody else to run a truck. So I needed to train more techs in, was kind of my thought process. I know looking back, I wish I would have approached it differently, but
Yeah,
I got through it that way.
for sure. For sure. So COVID hits, you guys are getting a ton of jobs. I assume that, you know, you weren't really prepared for that. I mean, like most of the world wasn't. You were kind of in this spot where you were getting some jobs. You had that scale mindset at that point after 2016, but you weren't really, you know, you weren't really ready for this kind of crazy shift that had happened. What did that look like for you guys? What were you just all of a sudden slammed and needed to get a bunch of workers on? Or what did that look like?
Yeah, exactly. It was a lot of I need more techs now to get out in the field and install. And then I needed more sales guys. I needed help in the office. So it was kind of compounding and trying to keep up with that.
Hmm.
But like every time we solved one problem, there was another problem we had to fixate on,
Yeah,
and kept going from there.
for sure. For sure. So, what was kind of the biggest challenge then? Take yourself back to that COVID age, and what was going through the brain where you're like, man, I just can't seem to get this thing right. What was that for you?
The structure. So I needed, and I'm still working on that, but structure for the text. I needed manuals for them to follow.
Mm,
I needed a system for them to see that there's growth here, that they have a place to move up. Um,
for sure.
and then sharing that vision with them was the other part of that.
Yeah, yeah. And I know you just said that you're still kind of working on that now, but what was that process of changing like? How did you start to implement some of those things?
Well, that's as I was adding people, I guess that was becoming more apparent to me that I needed a better vision. I needed to attract people that could see that with me and help me grow that.
Mm,
Um,
mm,
so that's kind of the mission now, is to, as Ziglar says, you can have anything in life you want if you just help enough other people get what they want. So
very true.
that is essentially our mission statement right there, is trying to help these employees get what they want. And this business is here as a tool for them to use. So
100%. I like that. I like that. And So when this whole COVID thing was happening, I mean, we started to come out of it, and you said that, the marketing side of things then was significantly different than what it is now. Um, what was kind of that point where jobs started slowing down and where you had to kind of kick that marketing into overdrive? What did you dive into? What was kind of your tactic there?
So last year is when I felt like I noticed it more. Beginning of the year, springtime. It didn't pick up in the spring like it had the previous years. So we immediately started putting more money into Google Ads and all the normal channels like that. I also started a TV ad last year. Um, so that was the biggest change, was a TV ad. The other avenues I was already using, I just put more money into it, more than I have been.
Nice. What were you already using at that time?
So we had Google Ads, we had Facebook ads. We were running. We actually were using YouTube ads last year, um, and those are the main ones. We put in place a referral reward program, so customers get 10% back if they refer somebody.
Nice.
So try to focus on that, and then networking. We're starting to do more of that as well.
Nice. What were you seeing as kind of that thing that was really working? I mean, you're putting your eggs in a lot of baskets. What was working and what wasn't?
Um, I'd say Google. YouTube ads, I would say wasn't. Um, I didn't. I guess from my standpoint, it wasn't because we weren't tracking it well.
Hmm.
Uh,
And
so that.
sorry, go ahead.
So I guess that was the biggest thing for us, was Google ads and Facebook ads.
Nice. Nice. And was this all done in-house? Were you guys just having either you yourself or a other manager do that side of
It
things?
was an outside company. Yeah.
Gotcha. Gotcha. For sure. And so you're doing a lot of this marketing stuff. Um, how did that kind of change from last year into this year? I mean, obviously with the election coming up, and there's a lot of things that are going on in the world right now that, like it or not, is changing the behavior of home buyers, right? And homeowners. So what are you guys seeing right now as a challenge when it comes to getting leads in the door?
For us, we've been able to keep the leads, but I think the marketing cost is higher. So my thought is, how do we get around that cost?
Hmm.
And I kind of go back to what Tommy always says, is doing the networking, getting out there. You're kind of getting around Google, trying to get to know people personally, and then putting a face to the business. So chambers and BNIs, that's been something we've been working on and doing. So
Nice.
I've seen the benefit from it.
No, I love the BNI meetings and the chambers and things like that. I always tell people there's guys that'll come to me and might not have the budget for the type of marketing that that we provide, things like that. And so the thing that I always do is I say go to your local BNIs, go to your chamber of commerce. Like those places are huge. The local one here where I'm at is an amazing chapter, and there's tons of home service guys on there. But there's the roofer, there's the plumber, there's the electrician, there's the car guy, whatever. But the gutter guy is almost never there, right? So there's almost always room for a gutter guy in a lot of these BNI meetings, which is something that I think a lot of people don't take advantage of. So I love BNI.
Yep.
I think it's a great thing, especially for local service businesses. And even if as the owner, let's say you don't have time to do it yourself, you can send a salesman, right? You can send someone who can be the face of the company for you and talk on these points, and someone that can just get some leads and some traffic from there as well. So I love BNI. I think it's great.
Yep. Yeah, it's been good. Like, try to pull people's mind into the gutter with us, right?
Yeah, right. That's awesome. So did you, when you were doing a lot of this, when you're doing a lot of this networking, are you going out there? Are you going to these BNI meetings? Are you sitting in these chambers, or are you sending a salesman, an office manager?
So last year I started the BNI that we're in, and I did it most of the time. And then one of my sales rep took that over beginning of this year,
Hmm.
and got a fly buzzing around me. Um, he took that over, and then now I'm doing to some chamber breakfasts and doing that. And that's been fun, been interesting.
Gotcha.
Um, Pushing my limits because that's not really me.
Yeah.
It's not my personality type. But
No, are you not
yeah,
a not a
if you're
big
not growing,
talker?
you're dying, right?
Yeah, true. You're not a big talker, don't really like doing all the networking stuff.
Yeah, networking, podcasting, that type of thing. It's not for me.
Well, hey, you're stepping outside your comfort zone with this one too, and I appreciate it.
Yep. And now we
That
got
fly
fly
is really
chasing.
interested in what you're doing though.
You must be hungry.
Something. That's awesome. What would you say that, you are good at? What's kind of that strength of yours?
Oh, I go back to the install. I'm good at installing, but
Hmm,
I'm trying to learn how to be a good leader. I'm trying to grow myself. Um,
there you go.
One thing I'm focused on right now is the finances and trying to really become an expert at that because that's what I should be an expert at if I'm
Yeah.
owning a business. So,
That's huge. That's huge. I had a episode not too long ago with Robert Ward of Holy City Gutter Works, and that's one thing that he
okay.
brings a ton.
Yep.
It's getting your accounting in check, getting a solid bookkeeper, knowing your numbers because he said that's what almost took them out back in, a couple of years ago was, they were still pushing a million and a half, but their numbers weren't in line. So, they weren't making any margins on anything. And so he
Yep.
said once he got that figured out, it was way easier to grow because you know where your money's at and you have the ability to allocate towards marketing or get some more trucks going or whatever it might be that you need. That said, what he said was one of the biggest things. And I applaud you for getting that in line because it's hard. It is hard, but
Yep.
it's definitely something that improves the business overall.
And it's harder to track as the overhead grows.
Yep,
Without the overhead, it's fairly simple. But once you add in all these extra factors that are taking away money, it's something you got to watch.
exactly. Exactly. And there was one question that I just had in my head that was really good. Um, Oh yes, installs. So you say you're really good at installs, and you're trying to get better at being a leader. One thing that I've noticed, as kind of did a little bit of background on you guys, is your social media presence, especially on Facebook and things like that, seems to be really well. I mean, you guys post consistently, and it's fun content. It's not a bunch of advertising. It's not a bunch of hey, if you need gutters, come on over here. Like it's fun, engaging content. I want you to talk a little bit about that. How did that get started? Was it your idea? Was it someone else's idea? What was the starting point to kind of get a lot of that dialed in?
Well, the idea to push it more is probably my wife. Um, she kind of manages it, but we hired an outside company to do it for us. So it's probably a year and a half ago that they started doing that. They took it over. Um, a big thing I've learned with social media is people come there to be entertained. They don't come to be educated. So that's kind of why we've tried to make it fun, and also it's a tool to attract talent. So it's kind of
100%.
what we're gearing it for.
100%. And I'll link in wherever you're watching this, whether it's on Apple Podcasts or iTunes or on YouTube or whatever, I'll link Aho Seamless Facebook in the description so you guys can go check it out. I think it's great. You guys are one of the few people that I've seen who have been doing really well at this. And I want to ask for kind of the content ideas, right? Like the actual posts that are being put out there. Are you guys coming up with a lot of that, or is that the third party company that is coming up with a lot of ideas and then you guys are just filming it?
They're coming up with some of them. I think my wife is coming up with a good part of that as well. She sends them the ideas and then they film it and do it. So
That's
yeah,
awesome.
the team's been good about it. They've really done really well with it. So
That's awesome. No, I love
again,
that.
it's not something I'm good at. So
Hey, that's the name of business though. Find what you're good at, focus on that, and then outsource everything else, right? Because
yep,
there's always going to be that's something that we do in our business all the time is I used to have to do all of the outbound sales, right? And I pushed through that and I had to do it at some point, right? Because you just have to. But eventually I said, you know what? I hate doing this. I really this is not my thing. This is not something that I enjoy doing. There's someone out there that is way better at it than I am. So why don't I just bring them on? And I think that that's
yep,
huge. What
exactly.
other what other pieces of your business have you kind of found that to be true, where you're like, that is not my jam. I want to delegate that as soon as I can.
Lately it was, so when the approved quotes come in the system and going through those to make sure we have the right information for production, I realized I'm not good at taking the time to look over everything. So we have Eric taking that over now, and it's been really nice.
Nice, nice. And what have you kind of switched your time on? What do you focus on most in the business today?
Lately, I've focused on sales. I'm trying to be a sales manager. I'm trying to learn that role. I'm
Gotcha.
putting together a sales binder with pre-close and closing sequence. Um, Trying to get that all together for my sales guys. So we've been in training with Jeremy Mitchell actually. So
Nice, nice. So bringing some outside help in to just kind of build that as well to learn more and get some of that
yep,
knowledge. That's
yep,
great. I mean, it seemed like you guys have been really good at doing that. I mean, kind of bringing in the help that you need and learning from others where you felt you were deficient. And
yep.
a lot of people have trouble doing that because a lot of, I hear it every day where people don't want to let go of some things of their business. They don't want to get off the truck because no one can install like they can, or they don't want to hop off the estimates because no one can sell like they can, that type of thing. What would you say to guys that are thinking that?
Get your mind out of the gutter. Um, yeah, you can't grow if you don't get some help. It's impossible. You're restricting yourself, and you're also holding back your employees. If you are trying to manage everything, you're holding them back from what they can do. Um, if this business is, if you have employees, you're obligated to help them with your business. So you need to start scaling it for them, in my opinion.
Mm,
Otherwise, they're stuck and they can't move up, and they're likely going to leave you, and you can't be upset at them for that. So,
mm, mm. That's powerful. Is that kind of, would you consider that to be one of your biggest motivators for growing the business is, not only your own gain, but, everyone else that's been helping you build it?
that is my biggest, yeah. Um, if it wasn't for them, and if I had two guys that would be happy working on the truck with me for the rest of their life, I probably wouldn't have tried to scale. Um,
Yeah,
but since I have guys, I do want them to succeed. So I'm trying to not have a ceiling for them. There's
for
no
sure.
ceiling. We're gonna keep pushing. So
That's awesome. That's awesome. And I want to take one or two steps back and go back to the marketing side of things. And I wanted to dive in. This is something that I love to ask all of the guests because it ranges a lot. And I think it's really interesting to see the difference in what people are doing in different markets. So, what are you guys doing today to kind of keep the leads flowing in, keep the trucks running, marketing wise?
marketing wise, so we're still doing all the normal procedures. Google Ads, Facebook. Um, Trying a texting campaign right now, which is a new one for us. We've done trying to think of everything. Cut me off guard with that one. We got all the normal stuff going. Networking is the biggest one that we're focused on right now,
Okay,
more than we have been in the past. Um,
gotcha.
so trying to do that, trying to make new connections. We want to get a referral route set up, so we're going to meet new potential referral clients, meet with them, and expanding our network. So
Nice, nice. So have you guys dove into the organic side of Google at all, like the SEO and all of that stuff?
yeah, so we do have a company doing that for us.
Nice,
They've been doing that for almost 2 years now. So
awesome. Yeah,
um,
so you're
yep.
definitely kind of in full swing of it now.
Yeah, so our organic leads are definitely up from last year even. So
That's great.
it's
That's great.
doing
And
well.
earlier you had mentioned that you're trying to keep that marketing cost down, and organic is a great way to do that. I mean, obviously, as you
Yep.
know, like the better you perform organically, your ad cost is going to lower, your overall cost per acquisition is going to lower, your ads are going to perform better, and if you have ads already running, then your organic is going to perform better. So it seems like you guys kind of figured that out pretty quickly of
Yep.
pairing those two things together really is kind of a powerhouse.
Yep. And the other thing too, I guess I'll mention is we're looking at rebranding currently.
Okay.
So in talks with Kick Charge about that. So
Okay.
it's something that we're gonna most likely have happen here soon.
Okay. Can you tell me a little bit more about that? About kind of what are you looking to change? What was the reasoning behind that?
Well, we want a more powerful name that grabs people's attention and
Okay.
a strong brand. Um,
Hmm.
Something so instead of people needing to see us 7 times, hopefully we can get that down to 3 or 4 times,
Hmm.
which will raise our organic leads, whether it's through Google or wherever. But if we have a stronger brand, the better truck wrap, better signs, all those simple things like that that grab people's attention, they'll remember us.
For sure. And content, right? Like
Yep.
putting out quality content like you guys are on as many channels as you can is super crucial for branding.
Yep.
Making sure that you get that name out there. So um, I'm excited to see where that goes. I'm curious to see what you guys turn into. I think that's going to be super fun.
Yeah. Stay tuned.
Will do. I'll keep tabs. Um, so the reason I was able to reach out to you, right, and the reason kind of we're sitting here today is because you are also part of the Rain Gutter Association, correct?
Correct. Yep.
And I actually had a podcast episode with Noah Lance not too long ago. Hasn't been uploaded yet, but it's going up soon.
Nice.
But he had kind of pointed me in the direction of some of the other Rain Gutter Association guys. And I want to ask a little bit about how you guys have used the Rain Gutter Association to learn, get some new things in, you know, overall grow. What have you used the Rain Gutter Association for?
We actually are using the training course. So new hires that come in, they're going through that course. We use it for the safety talks as well. Every Monday we go over one of the safety talks. So it's been nice to just have that resource, that the material's there and it's ready to go.
For sure.
So we've been using that, and then Noah's been doing, I think, monthly, every 2 week meetings. I've made a few of them. That's been really nice. I actually met Robert.
Yep.
From Holy City, Gutter works there. So
Great guy. Great guy.
yeah.
Have you seen a pretty good difference for, what you guys were doing in the past, maybe to when you have those resources for those new hires, getting that training course going? Have you seen a significant difference?
Yes, they go. So we started using those videos with a actual training program in the shop.
Okay.
So the combination of that is the guys are going out into the field a lot more prepared than they used to. Sorry, flies back.
Flies back.
But yeah, it's made a big difference for the guys out in the field. They know a little bit more, or more in tune with
Nice.
what needs to be done.
Nice. That's awesome. And I mean, it seems like you've kind of done that in every stage of the business, right? It's just taken someone who's been there, done that, absorbed as much as you can, and then implemented that into your own business, which
Correct.
obviously seems to have done really well. So, what are the maybe top 2 or 3 learning tools that you have used in any stage of the business to help grow and scale?
The biggest, so obviously, I think getting a business coach is number one.
Mm.
So having that resource, and then number two would be the team, who I'm hiring, and who's going to help me lead.
Mm.
That's been my biggest thing I've had to learn the hard way, and I've been focused on the last year. So
Is building the team.
yeah, is building the team and building that team that's below me at the same time, so we're growing together.
Nice. Nice. Yeah. Getting people to help you build the team under and also above is super important. I 100% agree.
Yep.
Last question here. This is going to be a good one. Prepare yourself. What would you say is the biggest thing that you've learned in having to grow these teams, right? There's challenges at every part of business. There's marketing challenges, there's finance challenges. But one thing that, especially in construction, is in the construction world, is really difficult, and that's people, right? So what has been one of the biggest things that you've learned in managing and training and getting really involved with these people's lives?
Communication.
Mm.
They need to know the vision. They need to know what you're thinking. They need to know the why. It just comes down to communication. Then you need to understand what they're thinking and why they're thinking
Mm.
that. Um, So
100%.
yeah, if you're communicating, you can work through most things that come up.
Awesome. That's awesome, man. Well, I really appreciate you taking the time. If anyone wants to maybe learn from you, right? If anyone wants to, ask a question or kind of see what you've dealt with that they might be dealing with, what's the best way that someone could reach out to you?
Yeah, my cell number is the best way. 603-496-7627.
Awesome, man. Well, I really appreciate you coming on the podcast. Thank you so much for spreading your knowledge. I'm curious to see what this rebrand is going to look like, and I'm excited to follow along with that. So again, thank you, Chester, very much.
Thank you. I gotta go kill a fly.
Have a good one, man.
See ya.